Then, under President Clinton, another law was signed which finished the job, called Adopting Families Act, ASFA. That law set quotas for the states to sell these children at the end of the foster care lease period. So now we have a lease sale deal going on with children. And the quotas, if they are exceeded, allows the state to get even more cash. For good measure, if the state can falsely declare that the child is a special needs child, in other words, if you give them drugs, which almost all children who are stolen into captivity are drugged, then they can increase the funds even more, double, triple, quadruple. A colleague of mine calculated that a really useful child could bring as much as $250,000 to the state per year. So let me give you a brief tour through the sort of seamy underbelly of the Child Protective Services. The first and worst part of this is what feeds them in. It's called the snitch system. Cuba has one. It's called the Committees for the Defense of the Revolution. If somebody criticizes Fidel, the neighbor will tell, and you are gone. We have a similar snitch system here. It's called mandated reporting. If a doctor, a school teacher, or any of 50-odd professions decide that there may be a reason, possibly, that a child may have been abused or neglected. Say, for instance, they were homeschooled, or say they're devoutly religious, or say they have a vegetarian diet, or some other horrible, sinister thing. You can be sure somebody will report them. If they sass their mom and dad and the parent spanks them, you can be sure that they will be reported. At this point, 6 million reports a year are made in this country, every year, to these child abuse hotlines, resulting in 3.3 million reports, 6 million children. And of those, when all is said and done, maybe 5% are actual abuse and neglect. So the real problem up front that we need to solve is the snitch network. Now, the next thing that we need to solve, and this is what the law that had been encouraged us to look at, the Family Preservation and Reconciliation Act, is designed to solve. And that is to make it much harder to prove that child abuse and neglect has been perpetrated when it really hasn't. It's an attempt to elevate the standard to an actual burden of proof. If you are a murderer, you're typically protected under what we call in law due process. That means you have notice. That means you have an opportunity to be heard. That means that there's a proof burden by the state to show that there actually is a crime. In Child Protective Services, all you need is to say it. No proof necessary, we've said it. And it can be done by unlicensed social workers who are 23-year-old, who have no kids and know everything. In fact, if you don't have lace curtains, you better watch out. Because from their strange thing that they've been taught all of their lives, a parent, and it comes from down the street, children should be taken from families and communally raised. This is what the government, in its secret heart of hearts, believes. It's an idea that was actually put into print by Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto. But it has been adopted wholesale by the administration for Children and Families, which is part of Health and Human Services. It is their creed. Children should be taken from families and communally raised. The director of that agency said that. So, once the snitch network operates and they get a secret court order in a secret court. Now, some of your states actually aren't secret, but most of them are. Most of them do not allow anybody in. They do not allow the press or the public. There are no juries. There's just a judge who probably used to be a social worker, who probably used to work as an attorney for the agency in front of her. That judge probably wouldn't know the rules of evidence if they were taped to an anvil and it fell on her head. And believe me, I've met a few. Now, what's the real answer here? You're all frying out on the hot sun, so I don't want to keep you a long time. First of all, this is entirely federally driven. Yes, there's state laws, but the federal locomotive is pulling the train. The law that has been suggested, Family Preservation and Reconciliation Act, fixes a number of the problems with that federal system. Doesn't fix all of them, but it fixes a lot of them. It's a very good baseline and a start to begin the restoration process. We need to fix the snitch network. We need to fix the secrecy of the courts. We need to restore due process. There should be juries. If you're going to take away the most precious right we have, there need to be juries. Now, why you could get a jury for a speeding ticket, but you can't get one to have your children taken away is completely a mystery. Many, many reformations are going to have to take place if the system is going to eventually get back to what it should be. I am not really optimistic because there's too many billions of dollars at stake coming from the federal government to the states to do it the wrong way. Hopefully, Congress will put pressure on these state systems to make changes. Right now, even though the law requires it, even though the law requires the Administration for Children and Families to do audits of each state system, 50 have been done and 0 have passed. Okay? 0. Most states have not met even one of the 7 criteria for bare minimum compliance in their state system. Not one. A couple have met one. And a few have met more than one, but not many. So even the law as it is written is not being enforced. So I'm not real optimistic that a whole lot of new laws are going to fix this. What is going to fix this? A lot more people standing up and saying, no more. Six million children a year get caught in the snitch network. That means that there's a large number of families that are touched by this demonic system. Those are the people that need to realize that together we can begin to have enough what's happening in this system. Seriously, a few hundred people gathering here is not going to change it. A few thousand won't. A few million throwing the rascals out of office may do it. The starting point in this act is to declare that parenting is a fundamental right.